Imagine sailing across a stretch of ocean where the weather can change in minutes. The sky darkens. The compass appears unreliable. Radio contact suddenly disappears. And somewhere beyond the horizon, a ship or aircraft seems to vanish without leaving a trace. For decades, stories like these have surrounded one particular part of the Atlantic Ocean, the Bermuda Triangle. But here is the strange part. The Bermuda Triangle isn't officially recognized as a dangerous region. There are no universally accepted boundaries. And there is no scientific evidence proving that anything supernatural happens there. So why has this ordinary section of ocean become one of the world's most famous mysteries? To understand that, we have to go back to the stories that started it all. The area commonly called the Bermuda Triangle is generally described as a rough triangle between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. It covers an enormous section of the Atlantic Ocean. Ships cross it, airplanes fly over it, cruise liners pass through it, and most journeys are completely uneventful. But during the 20th century, newspapers and magazines began collecting stories of ships and aircraft that disappeared in the region. Some accounts were ordinary accidents. Others were surrounded by uncertainty. And gradually, separate incidents began to merge into one enormous legend. The ocean itself became part of the story, and the triangle gained a reputation that would eventually become almost impossible to escape. One of the most famous stories began on December 5, 1945. 5 U.S. Navy Avenger aircraft took off from Florida on a routine training mission. The group became known as Flight 19. The weather eventually deteriorated. Radio communications became confusing. The pilots appeared to have difficulty determining their position. As the situation developed, the aircraft became increasingly lost. A rescue aircraft was sent to search for them, but then something extraordinary happened. The rescue aircraft itself disappeared. 5 training aircraft and a rescue plane gone. Search crews spent days looking across the Atlantic, but no confirmed wreckage of Flight 19 was found at the time. The mystery became enormous, and later retellings added even more dramatic details. Some stories suggested strange compass behavior. Others suggested that the aircraft had entered some kind of unknown zone. But there was a far more ordinary possibility. The pilots may simply have become disoriented over a vast ocean, while worsening weather and limited navigation information made their situation increasingly dangerous. The mystery remained, and the legend grew. There is something important to remember about the Atlantic Ocean. It is enormous. A person standing on a ship can look in every direction and see nothing but water. There are no roads, no landmarks, and during bad weather, visibility can collapse. Before modern satellite navigation, determining an exact position at sea could be difficult. A small navigational mistake could become a much larger problem. And once someone becomes lost, every decision matters. A wrong heading can take a vessel farther from safety. A storm can make navigation even harder. And rough seas can destroy evidence surprisingly quickly. That doesn't require aliens. It doesn't require mysterious forces. Sometimes the ocean itself is enough. But then came another famous disappearance. In March 1918, the USS Cyclops disappeared during a voyage across the Atlantic. The enormous American naval cargo ship was carrying a large load of manganese ore. More than 300 people were aboard. The ship never reached its destination. No confirmed wreckage was found, and there was no confirmed distress call explaining exactly what happened. For decades, the disappearance became one of the most frequently mentioned stories connected to the Bermuda Triangle. But there is an important detail. The USS Cyclops vanished decades before the phrase Bermuda Triangle became famous. And its disappearance has never been proven to involve anything supernatural. Mechanical problems, heavy cargo, weather, structural failure, and other possibilities have all been considered. The mystery remains because the final moments of the ship are unknown, and an unanswered question can become the perfect fuel for a legend. By the 1960s and 1970s, the Bermuda Triangle had become a cultural phenomenon. Books appeared. Magazine articles appeared. Television programs told stories of mysterious disappearances. Some accounts suggested magnetic anomalies. Others suggested underwater civilizations. Some even connected the triangle to extraterrestrials. One popular theory claimed that the lost city of Atlantis could somehow be responsible. But there was a problem. Extraordinary explanations required extraordinary evidence, and reliable evidence for these theories never appeared. Instead, the Bermuda Triangle became a perfect example of how stories can grow. One unusual event becomes a mystery. Several mysteries become a pattern, and eventually the pattern becomes a legend. One of the most repeated claims about the Bermuda Triangle involves compasses. According to some stories, compasses behave strangely in the region. But there is an important distinction. A compass points toward magnetic north, not necessarily geographic north. The difference between the two is called magnetic declination. That difference changes depending on where you are on Earth. So a compass behaving differently from what someone expects does not automatically mean something mysterious is happening. Navigation can also be affected by errors, equipment problems, weather, poor visibility, and human mistakes. The compass story sounds mysterious, but the science behind navigation is much less mysterious. And sometimes, the simplest explanation is also the most overlooked. The Bermuda Triangle lies in a region where weather can become challenging. Tropical storms and hurricanes can develop in the Atlantic. Strong winds can appear. Large waves can form, and visibility can change rapidly. There are also powerful ocean currents in the region. The Gulf Stream can move extremely quickly compared with surrounding waters. If a vessel is damaged or disabled, currents can carry debris away from the original location. That makes searching for wreckage away from the original location. Imagine trying to find a small object in an area of ocean stretching for thousands of square kilometers. Now imagine doing it without modern satellites. Suddenly, a disappearance with little evidence doesn't seem quite as impossible. It simply seems incredibly difficult to investigate. Here's where the story gets interesting. The Bermuda Triangle is real as a popular name for a region of the Atlantic. But there is no universally agreed official triangle. There are no permanent boundaries drawn on official maps. And scientists have not established that ships and aircraft disappear there at a rate that requires a supernatural explanation. In fact, enormous numbers of ships and aircraft travel through the region safely. That doesn't mean every disappearance has been solved. It hasn't. Some cases remain mysteries, some wrecks have never been found, and some historical events still leave important questions unanswered. But an unanswered question is not automatically evidence of something paranormal. Sometimes, we simply don't know. Perhaps that's what makes the Bermuda Triangle so fascinating. Not the monsters, not Atlantis, not aliens, but uncertainty. Human beings don't like incomplete stories. When we don't know what happened, our minds naturally search for an explanation. And when several unexplained events happen in the same general area, it becomes tempting to connect them. Over time, those connections become stories. Stories become legends, and legends become history that people repeat without always checking where the story began. The Bermuda Triangle may not be a doorway to another world, but it is certainly a doorway into one of the most fascinating questions in history. How much of what we believe is based on evidence, and how much is based on a really good story? The next time you hear that a ship or aircraft disappeared inside the Bermuda Triangle, remember this. The ocean is vast, weather is unpredictable, navigation can fail, human beings can make mistakes, and sometimes evidence simply disappears. Maybe the greatest mystery isn't what is hiding inside the Bermuda Triangle. Maybe it's why we are so fascinated by the unknown. This is Echoes, history they never taught us. And there are still countless stories from the past waiting to be uncovered. Like, share and subscribe for more forgotten mysteries, strange events, and history that still leaves us asking questions.